Hello, so we're here today at the DHL Service Center in Maastricht, where we will be interviewing Lieve Maus, financial accounting manager in this service center.
Lieve Maus comes from Norway. In Norway there are 5.3 million people living there. Their GDP per capita is 75,000 and the unemployment rate is only a low 3.8%.
So Norway is mainly known for mountains, fjords, midnight sun and its beautiful landscape. There they use a currency called Norwegian krona and they speak Norwegian. It's definitely part of Scandinavia, therefore they have Scandinavian culture. Equality and transparency is very much valued and they emphasize a lot on it. Also a fact that we thought that stood out was that they have their income and wealth on a public record.
On the Lewis model, Norway is actually on the linear active side, which is comparable to countries such as Germany, Switzerland, and all the Nordic countries actually in itself. That means that they are very cool, kind of individual, more with a closer family, and plan everything ahead. On the Hofstadter model, Norway is actually very comparable to the Netherlands. For instance, the power distance is very low, meaning that managers and their employees usually are on the same level. Also, individualism is very high in both countries. As I said before, that means that people usually just hang out with a closer family and care about themselves, not about the whole group. And lastly, a very low masculinity index, meaning that they are not competitive at all. However, they try to cooperate between each other.
Thank you first of all for having us. As you know, our names are Pablo, we're obviously Robin, Tinna and Max. We are basically doing an interview to you to find out about international business conducts within a company. So how do you manage different cultures, different nationalities? How do you make them work together the best way possible? And that's the main focus. So just to start off, I wanted to ask you maybe what you were doing here, what was your position, and how you came here to DHL.
Okay. So I'm from Norway. My name is Liv. I've lived in Holland for a long time. So I have my family is military background, so we've moved around. So that's where I ended up in international schools, international studies, studied here and there, Scotland, Netherlands, France. And then looked for an international company to work for. So I first worked in Amsterdam for a year for a Swedish company, and then I went to work here in Maastricht when DHL set up here a shared service center. Just sent an open application because I thought international company coming to Holland, I want to stay in Holland, so I'll apply for that. So I've been with DHL since 2001, always in this shared service center in Maastricht, and we've gone through a long history. So we were an American company. In 2003 we became a German company. So we've also had some cultural changes with that. And we also changed the colors from white turned yellow when we turned German. So that's the Deutsche Post color actually. And yeah, I've been here for 19 years.
Wow. Yeah.
18 years.
Okay, and so how many nationalities do work here, or how many nationalities are under your
In the building, there's a lot of nationalities. It's not only a European shared service center, this is a global center for DHL, so we also have some departments that do business in Asia and in all the regions, really, and we have people from all nationalities. In this team right now, we have 15, I just checked it. But some majorities are, of course, Dutch or Belgian, because we're close to the Belgian border.
And when interacting with the different members, do you approach them in a different way, or is it always on the same level?
I try to approach everybody the same way. I try to be myself at all times, because it's easier to, behavioral-wise, to not have to change. You do need to, of course, adapt to reactions and some cultural aspects. It's just also being aware of it. I know, for example, if somebody from France says yes, it doesn't necessarily mean yes. It might be yes, but it might take a long time to actually get to the yes. Where somebody in Holland says yes, you're going to get an answer or get the information today. So it's just you get that knowledge. You learn that
Right.
quite quickly with dealing with the various countries. We do financial accounting for 12 European countries. So we also deal heavily with the local teams, and those are really the Dutch team is very Dutch, the British team is very British. We don't deal with Germany. We consider Germany to be its own region. This building, we are a German company, and we have our headquarters in Bonn. If you go to Bonn, it's a very hierarchical German culture, very polite. But this building, it's in the Netherlands, and it has a very relaxed Dutch culture, and that's in the whole building. And all the managers that also coming from other cultures, they tend to adapt to that. So when we have the Germans come to visit from Bonn, we use their first names. Whereas if the German colleagues are with them, they will still call them Mr. and use their last names. They always look at us funny, but it is something that's just, this building has its own culture in that regard, so, which is nice. But it's fun to see. So yeah.
And when we talk about ethics, how do you take ethics into account during the decision-making process?
Yeah, so we have, I mean, the company has company ethics, and we stick to that. So everything that I do, I make sure it's in line with HR policies, what we've agreed with the Workers' Council, and I don't deviate from that. I could deviate from that. It's managers' discretion to do so, but personally I don't. I'm military background, so I stick to the rules. So that comes a bit back as well. I'm really by the book. If something says you need to change it, fine, I will change it.
So you would say that in this case also personal ethics are pretty much the same as business ethics for you personally?
Yes, for me personally, yes.
Okay. You want to
take the next question?
Yeah, I was like, so how do you differentiate personal ethics from business ethics? Is there
That's what we
specific?
just-
Yeah,
I don't. I try to keep it the same. I try to be myself at all
Okay,
times.
you just got that out. What do you think the most challenging aspect of working in a diverse working environment is?
It's I come with my own way of working, and I'm from Norway, so it's very linked to. It's similar to the Dutch. I find we like to get things done. We're pragmatic. If you take more the southern part of Europe, it takes longer to get something done. You need to make the relationships. You need to invest more. My emails tend to be very short, get to the point immediately, which I know can come over on some people as being rude because I'm getting to the point straight away. And yeah, you need to deal with that. You need to take that into account. And for me, that's the biggest challenge to adjust, to actually take the time. Okay, now I'm not going to contact somebody in Portugal. I'm going to have to probably work a bit harder on getting what I need than I would with somebody in the Netherlands or in Norway. You even see that across the border. The Belgians and the Dutch are actually quite different in that regard. So.
That's actually quite. You find differences, between Belgium and that's true.
Alright, so now talking about diversity for a little bit. Have you ever had to handle a situation where one colleague was not accepting of another's diversity, cultural background, and how did you manage that situation?
Or how would you if that wasn't the case?
Not accepting. I've never had that. People come here, they know they're in the Netherlands, and I think most people really like the open culture here. We did have not accepting. No, they tend to adjust to it. We had a Syrian internship student last year who was very taken aback by how people talk to each other, how they talk to me. You know, that it's just open and they can say anything because he was used to a much bigger distance, but he adjusted to it, and at the end you saw him also doing the same as the rest. So I haven't had any conflicts with it. If it would happen, I would not accept that. I would be taking the necessary actions to make sure that would not be okay for me. I don't want any issues between cultures or backgrounds. If they clash, we talk it out. We have tools in place. We have HR business partners supporting us. We have workers' councils who can support. So we do have enough structure to do what's necessary.
Right.
But I would not accept it. No, I would be stepping in and doing the peacemaker thing. That's why Norway's handing out the Peace Prize.
Do you think that, where was I, sorry, organizations can make kind of errors when talking about diversity, for instance, letting too many cultures in there, not having a firm business culture? Do you think they can make any errors where like the business culture itself can get lost?
Yes, I think if we would try to do, the reason we have our own culture is because the way we set up from the beginning, we had some entrepreneurial people who didn't go for the German culture. We could easily have become a very German culture in this building as well, but we had some authentic individuals who really thought that through, and then you see the rest follow.
Right.
And that could have gone wrong. We could have had and you also see that in this building, every single department is slightly different.
Yeah.
And they have different backgrounds, different managers. We have a department where there's an Iranian, Belgian person on top. We have a department led by a Mexican, and you really see the differences, even in how they behave, in how people dress, and how they interact. We have a department that acts as a Big Four company. We have very ambitious, all dressed up. If there's a big meeting, they'll go sit in the front row. We have a department that is very relaxed, dealing with customers, but still very down to earth and more Dutch, even though they have a lot of cultures, very open. And this is in accounting, so of course people here have accounting backgrounds, so they're also tend to be more introvert. But it's also It's a very special team spirit on this floor as well.
I just want to ask if this industry that you're in, if it's male dominated, or if it's like more males that are working here in DHL or more females.
I think as in any company in DHL as such, there's more males.
Yeah.
Although DHL is really pushing to have women in high positions, and in this building, I think it's probably 50-50. We're quite good at it here. There's a lot of female managers in this building in particular. Yeah. But also as a personal choice, there's many growth opportunities for women, and I think that's the most important. I have children, so for me, I'm happy where I am at the moment. I don't want to go for the next level. So, and that is something that needs to be taken into account in the whole discussion. Male, female needs to be.
It's a lot in the discussion in Iceland. That's why I want to ask the question.
Yeah, Norway's really pushing for it. Women have to be on the boards.
Yeah.
Here, DHL gives you any opportunity. There's nothing holding me back from that aspect. So in that sense, I think DHL is doing a really good job.
Yeah.
Going back again to the international team you have here, can you name us any benefits which you think come with that internationality?
Well, I've always been in international backgrounds, schools, etc. So the good thing about international environment is because you have so many different people, they dare to be themselves. You get a lot more diversity, you get a lot more ideas, people dare to be different. And because of that, you get a much more relaxed. People are not afraid to say something because they know they're not going to be the odd one out. When I was young, I moved out of Norway when I was 9, and I spent from 13 to 16. I spent back in Norway in high school. I was shocked that all the girls were the same. They had the same hairdo, they had the same jackets, they behaved the same. So I was really happy when at 17 I got out again and back into an international environment. I think once you go international, you really don't want to go back. But I think you guys have the same idea.
Yeah, we share the same opinion here.
Yeah.
I want to tell you, this is about culture, but also regards to conflict resolution. So if I would ask you that if in a hypothetical situation there would be a discussion or an argument between two of your employees with different cultural backgrounds which can affect the discussion, would you intervene?
I would get myself involved, yes. I would. I don't want any conflict on the floor between people, so I would be talking to both to find out why there's a conflict and see what the next steps would be and how we can help. And of course taking into, very often then it could be a reason that it's a cultural misunderstanding in behavior. Yeah. I'm not one to let anything really slip by. Yeah.
I think that already answers the next question, basically. So basically, to conclude this interview, one of the last ones is, do you have any sort of advice for companies which are struggling with managing their groups? Like, how would you tackle, for instance, a company which is starting from zero?
Multicultural team kind of thing.
So in this building, I think it's really important that you allow the different departments, if you're a big company, to have their own culture, that you don't force one culture on the whole building or site. I think that's why this is so successful in this location. I think we have other shared service centers as well, where I know there's teams that feel like an outside team because they are slightly different than all the other teams. And that's a feeling you don't want to have. That should be okay. Right, you should you have rules and you need to stick to the rules, but you should then let each department, have their own individual culture and not stop that, not force a Dutch culture on it or a German culture. Yeah, I think that's the most important.
Do you have any advice that you would like to give to a student who is starting their career?
In an international company?
Yeah, in an international company.
Be themselves. Be international environments. If you're yourself, you're happy from the beginning. You're likely to be recognized for your own ideas. Don't try to fit in. Be yourself. Be authentic and.
Is it really, like, as a side question, is it kind of noticeable when people try to stay kind of closed-minded and try their hardest to stick to what they know instead of maybe trying to kind of see the other people's viewpoints?
You see the difference. You see there are people who do that, and as long as they function and do their job, that is fine. Right. You also see people who try to be like the rest, but we notice that too. It's you notice that people see that, so that's what I'm saying. Be yourself and be happy. Look for something you like, and then the rest will follow.
Perfect. I think that's it from our part. Yeah. Thank you very much for answering all the questions.
You're welcome.
We've really gained a lot of insights into how managing actually works and managing different cultures work. Yeah. So thank you for that. I think that's it from our part.
Oh, we just got done with the interview. What do you guys think?
I think it was quite interesting. The dynamic was a bit different, especially at the beginning. We didn't have it planned out. We didn't know really how to start. Yeah. The interview, we had all the questions written down, but the formality of starting the interview maybe was a bit weird at the beginning, but then once we got into it, we kind of got into the flow and was perfectly fine.
Yeah, I think we started off quite formally, but then we were able to turn into like a semi-structured interview like within the first couple of minutes. I think, like you said, beginning with the questions and who's going to start it off with and how we're going to ask the questions was kind of weird in the beginning, but then we were able to figure it out towards the middle and got done quite well with the interview, I'd say.
Yeah, I like that we didn't like organize it too much, because then it would be too like robotic, right? So it was nice that we just like someone started and then another one like took another question. Maybe it wasn't like, it wasn't like structure. I'm not saying.
Yeah. Furthermore, like all the information we got from her was actually quite applicable.
Yeah. I think even like she gave more information than the question may have particularly asked. Like she didn't just say the answer straight to the point, but she kind of just gave us a more broad idea of answering the question, but also leaving more interpretation for more questions potentially and more answers.
Yeah, I like her answer. It was very straightforward. She didn't really have to think twice when she was answering the question. She was also, like we talked about, like in Norwegian culture, they're very direct
So now looking at cultural theories that we discussed before the start of the interview, we can see that according to Hofstede, Norway is very transparent and there's a high focus on equality. This kind of links together with what Liz said in the interview, that she is very direct and kind of speaks her mind, not in a rude way, but like says it as it is, and is very transparent with the way, that she feels and thinks in the moment, and will also tell her subordinates that.
And also, I think she takes her decisions based on facts, rather than emotions.
Very rational.
Yeah.
Very rational decision making.
Yeah, for example, mentioning about the power distance, we noticed that the power distance is a bit different from Germany. Here seems to be much lower than in Germany. As well in Norway is similar to the Netherlands. It's lower and also more flexible. So yeah, I mean,
this links to what she said already, which is that in Norway, or in DHL and her department, managers try to be on the same level with employees, rather than super hierarchical, such as in Germany. That's the example she gave us. And also on the Lewis model, we said before the interview that it was more linear active. However, as we said before, it's not as linear active as Germany, where it's super planned ahead, and emotions don't have place at the workspace. However, it's not as like Southern cultures, which are multi-active, where everything is super emotional and not planned at all.
So, but overall, it went really good, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And we got the answers. She gave us examples which made us understand the answers better. And actually she was really nice and polite.
And also there was no surprise, so all of the answers weren't predictable, obviously, but it's something which we were kind of hoping for, and which we actually thought was
there was no answer that caught us off guard, where we were like,
no, exactly.
Why would you do it like that? And it was kind of like, makes sense.
Yeah.
Perfect.